Hi, I'm your host, Kevin Myers. Welcome back to this final episode of the 24/7 News Show. It is New Year's Eve or December 31st, whichever you prefer, and we thought it'd be fitting for our final episode to cover one of the final moments of the Trump administration, basically the last hurrah of their election challenges. That, of course, being the challenge that will now ensue in Congress over the certification of the Electoral College. Now, the Electoral College voted just a few weeks ago in early December, electing Joe Biden, that coming after a series of failed election challenges in court. And because those failed, it allowed the electors from the Democratic Party for the 5 states that were contested to go forward to the Electoral College and vote for Biden, who now has won the Electoral College. However, as part of our constitutional process, as we've done for over 200 years in this country, Congress now has to certify that result. And the process goes, as of right now, all there has to be is one representative in the House and one senator objecting, not to block the entire process, but to bring it to floor for debate. And, of course, that is what has happened, as Republican Senator Josh Hawley has has committed to object to the vote certification on January 6th. Now, this move doesn't really affect the net result, the outcome of all of this, but it will make it hell for anyone involved in the process on January 6th, because there will be debate over it. Ultimately, Biden will still be, if you ask any legal scholar, this is not going to prevent Biden from being elected the 46th president and serving his term. That is all going to happen. This is just going to be a very big spectacle for all of us to watch, and a fiery debate, I'm sure, on the floors of both chambers. But as I just mentioned, it doesn't have a possibility of changing the results of the election, and if my government class in high school serves me correctly, even in an alternate universe where this challenge somehow worked and they were able to nullify the results of the election, Trump still wouldn't be president. That's not how this works. It would mean there is no victor in this presidential election, and until a special election could be held, Trump would not be president. His term would still end on January 20th. He would not be automatically re-elected. That's not how our system works. In fact, we would go through the line of succession, and it would not be VP Pence, since he's elected on the same ticket. He's also out. His term ends as well. It means we would go to President Nancy Pelosi. Yes, because Democrats have managed to hold on to the House, Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, would be the President of the United States. So this is not exactly, in this alternate universe where their challenge is successful, it doesn't give them a result that, I seriously doubt it's a result Republicans would find desirable. So this is it's a bit confusing as to what the actual goal is here. But I think it's pretty clear that the intent is for all parties involved, such as Senator Josh Hawley, to curry favor with the president, because as of right now, he is still a major figure, the biggest figure, the most important figure in the Republican Party. Now, it would do the Republican Party a lot of good to distance themselves from Trump after he leaves office. But as certain members continue to back these challenges, it does not look like that is incredibly likely. And ultimately, even if these people don't actually like the president, if they don't actually believe in him in their private lives, as we saw 4 years ago during the Republican primaries, there's a lot of Republicans serving that actually don't like Trump very much, but go along with it just because, as people like Ted Cruz, who got booed at the 2016 Republican National Convention, saw, it was a lot easier to just go along with it than stand up for what you believed in, unfortunately. And that has continued here, where acknowledging Biden's victory could easily cost you a future election, as I'm sure Senator Josh Hawley is concerned about when he comes up for re-election in the next few years. But as I mentioned at the beginning, he needs a Republican in the House to join onto his challenge in order for it to even be heard. Now, that does seem fairly likely, as there is, in fact, quite a few House representatives that have publicly come out and mentioned that they would be supportive of such a move. That they would support, they voice support for objecting to the certification process. That list is now scrolling on the side of your screen. Those are all Republicans, by the way, in case you didn't already, because you didn't need to know, or you probably didn't need to know, but those are all Republicans. Democrats are not challenging this process. Yeah, so that's a lot of potential people to join on, and just a single one of them would make this process incredibly messy. Again, the end result is going to be the same, but they can, gum up the works a little bit with this process, make a big show of support for Trump that maybe will help them in an election in the future, but is not really healthy for democracy. However, it would not be fair to portray the entire Republican Party as being complicit in this. A lot of them are, clearly, but there are increasingly a number of Republicans that are standing up to this. Now, first of all, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell accepted Biden's victory after the Electoral College handed it to him earlier this month, and has also strongly discouraged members of his own party from participating in such a election challenge. And along with that sort of train of thinking, or sort of that same spirit of respecting democracy, really, that's the spirit we're talking about here, of respecting the will of the people, is Republican Senator Ben Sasse also came out slamming this move to object to the certification process as a dangerous ploy. So, strong words coming from someone within the same party. So this is definitely a rift forming in the Republican Party, as there are now people seeing the light of day. Because, first of all, Ben Sasse is not he's not like Mitt Romney, a Republican who has oftentimes objected to move by Trump. This is someone who's been aligned with Trump for most of his presidency and is now objecting to this, gross display of, I want to call it authoritarianism, because ultimately the result here is an attempt to overthrow the will of the people. But as we can see, that has been enough for a lot of members of the Republican Party, such as Mitch McConnell and Ben Sasse. So the end result here is that Biden will still be elected president, but what it means for the Republican Party is a bit more confusing. Going forward, this could definitely be a serious rift in the party between Republicans who stood up to Trump right here, right now, and those who chose not to. That is something that could potentially cost some Republicans their careers, having stood up to Trump. Because we've seen polls, the most recent one, I believe, saying around like 70% of Republicans have not accepted the results of the election. Those people are probably not going to be very happy with someone who accepted the results of the election from their own party, someone who stood up for, in a sense, their opponent, Joe Biden, but for the democratic process, and refused to peddle conspiracy theories. I think that will be an issue going forward. That's sort of it for this final political analysis of the 24/7 News Show, and as I mentioned, this is the final episode live here right now. I would like to mention that, I would like to thank all the people in my life who have sort of inspired me to both produce this show and to pursue a career in broadcast journalism, that career being the reason for ending this show, because honestly, I want to be more of like, an objective journalist, and this is like the farthest thing from objective coverage, as we just did a moment ago, so that's why we're ending this show. But I would like to thank, first of all, my broadcast, now just journalism teacher, since I'm taking multiple journalism courses at my high school, Mr. Schwartz, for helping to sort of guide me in how to tell stories objectively, because obviously coming from this, trying to filter out your own opinions is surprisingly difficult. A lot of people, everyone is a media critic these days. And it's easy to criticize. It's a lot harder to do, as you will quickly realize if you try to cover an event objectively, keep your opinion out of it. So having someone to guide me through doing that in my teacher has been just incredibly important. And I'd also like to thank him for sort of putting me on to the PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Lab Summer Academy. This is a program that PBS NewsHour holds annually over the summer, where they pick 30 high school or sometimes middle school students from across the country to teach them how to tell stories objectively and also through video. And I was lucky enough to be selected as one of those 30 students for the 2020 Summer Academy, and that was an amazing experience. So I'd like to thank my teacher for, kind of pushing me to take advantage of that, to apply for that opportunity. And also, I would also like to just extend my gratitude towards the PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Labs team. Those are amazing people who are not only fantastic storytellers, but are also taking their abilities and using it to teach the next generation, to share it with the next generation, which I think is such an incredibly valuable thing to do. And I think anyone who supports objective journalism and would like to support the next generation of journalists, I highly encourage you to donate to your local PBS station. And especially, I believe it is the station here in Washington, D.C., WETA, that sort of manages a lot of the Student Reporting Labs programs. So I would encourage you to donate to your local PBS station and WETA specifically as well. And again, huge shout out to the people over there. They gave me the opportunity to, over the Summer Academy, to tell the story of my cousin who works in a hospital treating COVID patients in Nevada. I was able to tell her story for PBS NewsHour, and that was an amazing experience. And I'd also like to thank them for giving me most recently, putting me on their list of their under 20 up and coming storytellers. That was, again, a huge honor from that team. So it's amazing people working at PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Labs. And as far as I know, there is nothing else like it. I don't know of any other television news organization that conducts that and works with schools across the country to teach how to tell stories through video. It's just truly an amazing program. Shout out to everyone over there. And finally, before we go, I would like to actually call attention to a new series we're planning to produce here at Fountain News instead of the 24/7 news shows. This show comes to an end. We're going to start with a new show called Conversation. This new show is going to be, we're going to have conversations with different students from Dominion High School about different things they're doing in their lives. Just live, by the way. It will be a live series of 30-minute long conversations, Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time here, or actually on the Fountain Pictures channel, not on Fountain News. It will be live. Starting off this Sunday with Tyler Whitfield. He's producing a podcast sort of about mental health, and we're going to talk with him about that. We'll play a little clip for you. We encourage you to check out his podcast, of course, after you watch our live broadcast. So please tune in Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time to Fountain Pictures for the first episode of Conversation. But until now, thank you for watching the 24/7 show. Like, dislike, you may have already commented in the chat. Comment below. But until next time, thanks for watching.